past.
I love it. Well, let's go to the next question, because I think it's, what my thing is, and we kind of talked a little bit about this, is what are the buyers seeing? Imagine these are two people standing on a high hill in the Coachella Valley saying, hey, maybe the conditions aren't so bad. What are they seeing? And that other people are actually missing, Art.
Well, again, you're right. We already touched on a little bit on the previous question, but I'll repeat it again. I think despite all the negative news, what they're seeing, number one, is yes, the rates are elevated. That rate of elevation has moderated, if not subsided, especially at least as of today, subsided with this latest news. And so it's like, again, if they've been paying attention, watching the 10-year bond yield, as we on this show encourage people to do all the time, keep an eye on what the mortgage rate quotes are out there. What they're starting to realize, what they're seeing is, these headlines and these influencers are telling me the world's coming to an end as to mortgage rates. Well, they haven't really moved that much. It's been between the high fives to the low sixes and pretty much about 0.5 to 0.75% trading range for months and months and months.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's a good thing. They're stable. They haven't gone through the roof. And it's at a level that historically is affordable. And gee whiz, when I look at my paycheck and look at what a mortgage payment can be, it's like I suddenly realize, well, yeah, I'd like it to be a little bit lower, but I can do this. Yeah, I got to make some adjustments in other parts of my life and my household budget and so forth, but I can do this. And I think they get even more encouraged if they take the time to talk to a good real estate agent and a good mortgage originator like us. I know a guy, and we can give them the real story. And I think that's happening more and more. So that's one thing they're saying. Same thing with home prices. Despite the drumbeat of home prices going up and they're too high and they're unreasonably high, that's moderated too. We don't have a collapse. We don't have a downturn. Home prices are not dropping by 10 or 20%, but they've plateaued. And they've been at that more plateaued level for months. We've shown graphs on this show in previous months and weeks and months that illustrate that very clearly. And I think, again, that's what some of these buyers are seeing, that other buyers are sitting there on the sidelines reading the headline and woe is me. I'm never going to be able to buy a home. And they just, they don't want to take the time to really study this issue more closely. And the other thing I would want to point out is that there are more homes on the market, and these buyers who are now buying are seeing that. And hopefully they're seeing that in part by their own research and by talking to real estate agents, where they're basically identifying, and I think somewhat surprised to realize, oh, there's a lot more inventory here. I've got more to choose from. What does that tell? What does that do for that buyer who's seeing that? Well, for one, it takes a little bit of a pressure off, that if they want to start to go out there in the market and look around, that they don't have to hurry up and look at 7 houses in one day and hurry up and write an offer, because they're going to be competing against 22 offers, in short order, because it wasn't that many years ago that's what it was like. And we don't have that kind of environment anymore. These buyers are seeing more homes on the market. The inventory is higher. Now, it's not quite back to the quote unquote normal of a 6-month supply based on current sale rate, but it's getting pretty close. And that's a lot better than it was a year or two ago, when you could see that supply being not at 5.25, 5.5 months of supply of sales rate, but 2 to 3 months supply based on sales rate, where if you saw a house you liked, you had to jump on it. And even when you did, you might be competing with multiple offers. A lot less of that going on. So these buyers are seeing that. And then the corollary, or the other connective part of that, is when these buyers see there's more inventory, what they're discovering is, what does more inventory provide you when you see more total houses for sale and you see more days on market, that the listings are not selling in 18 days or 20 days or 22 days after listing. Oh, there's a lot more homes for sale. And the average days on market for these homes isn't, 16 days, it's 48 days, or it's 52 days. And they're looking at the listing, hopefully with the assistance of a good realtor, and they're seeing there hasn't been any price adjustments. And what does that tell the prospective buyer? These buyers who have taken advantage of the current environment. Aha, I have negotiating leverage.
Mm.
The market is screaming at that seller that if you're on the MLS and you've been on there for 50 days and your current asking price is the same as what you listed it at 50 days ago and you have not adjusted it, that seller is not getting the signal from the market. So as a buyer and with your agent, you have an opportunity, and these people are doing it. Go after that house. If you like the house, go after that. Go after the seller and negotiate because you have the leverage to do it. Negotiate to get a concession. And of course, as we talk all the time, you want to get that concession not in a lower price, but in a seller credit so you can use it toward your financing. It's going to make a world of difference in the cost of home ownership and help you keep it affordable. So I think that's what these buyers are seeing.
Well, it reminds me. Last night we were having dinner with some friends, and he's a very astute commercial real estate investor. And he said a friend of theirs in our neighborhood was being represented by an agent that they knew and was very enthusiastic about this property, but they were all having dinner together and said, this property is just not selling. I just don't understand it when other things are selling around it. And he looked at her and he said, you ever think you got the price too high? and then she defended that. And we all laughed because it's like, it's almost like saying, hey, that piece of art is worth $1 million. It's not until the buyer says it is.
Right.
And so it's like, that's the reality of it. So it's kind of interesting when you see those signs out there that those buyers who are taking advantage of it now are starting to line them up. It's almost like landing a plane. Hey, the lights are on. It's okay to land. And it's the inventory, it's the pricing, days on market. I love that. Thank you, Art.
Yeah. And of course, one additional point about that scenario you had with your dinner guests, your friends, is it's interesting because the sellers who are thinking that way, that the price is fine, even though the market is screaming at them, no, it's not fine.
Yeah.
Many of these sellers have a lot of equity. They've experienced some real growth in their equity if they bought the home, particularly before the pandemic, and then they rode that hill upwards as property values exploded during the pandemic. So it's like, you kind of feel like, are they being a little greedy? Like they think the price is fine, and they're ignoring the fact that their home price or values almost doubled if they've owned the home, say, prior to 19 or 18. Don't you think it might be worth giving up a little bit of that to get it moved now? So
Yeah.
that's an interesting notion of these sellers that I think they're having trouble with it. They need to get over that.